That's right, it's time for DARKO US. Just quickly before we get into the review, I just want to say that this Thursday at 2 p.m. GMT, I'll be streaming live over on twitch.tv/metalroast. And from the poll that I did last week, we're going to be looking at the genre of technical death metal. So if you're interested, go ahead, let's meet up, let's hang out on Thursday at 2 p.m. GMT. So we'll see you there. Now over to the review. So DARKO US is a project that involves the members of Emmure and Chelsea Grin with Tom Barber and Josh Miller. And together they are a veteran duo that bring the fucking heavy on this goddamn album. So last year they had put out their debut EP called Death Mask Part 1. I don't know whatever happened to Part 2, I don't think it's ever coming out, but pretty much they put out that EP and from start to finish it was this heavy onslaught of guitars and drums, both performed by drummer Josh Miller. And you can tell because they are so closely locked in together. There's probably some guitar editing, but overall it is locked in. And over top of that we have Tom Barber, which of course bring his iconic vocal stylings that we know from Chelsea Grin and Lorna Shore. That sort of overcompressed, over-exaggerated voice that just sounds like a goblin at times. And now with this album, not gonna lie, going into it I was a bit apprehensive with the fact that I thought it was gonna be a start to finish 40 minutes of non-stop destructive chaos, which it is cool, but it does get repetitive and it does become tiring on the ears. However, that is not the case here, where we do actually get some moments of downtime to recoup. We have some more dynamic moments as well that showcase the different aspects of what this duo is capable of. So the album starts off pretty standard for this duo now, which is uber intense, uber fast, in your face, but they do have some EDM elements that sort of act as, I guess, the melody behind all this more rhythmic, percussive sounding performances. And as an opening track, it definitely gets the groove going, gets the hype building, and it is a straight up mosh pit starter. Would have me terrified if I saw the pit for it. This continues with the second track as well, but after that we get something different with the track Donna that gives us a more emotional and visceral feel, where it talks about dementia and the tragedy that it had on one of the members of the band. The opening is this very quiet, intimate performance by Tom Barber doing some cleans, which I wasn't expecting him to have such good cleans. He can clean sing, which I was really surprised by. But besides that, it was also combined with these quieter, mellow guitars that created this very atmospheric, very sort of like romantic vibe, and that really got you hooked on this plot. And then it hits you with this chorus that is so emotionally driven that, man, you feel it in the heart. Like, I got the feels. And that's what this track is. It's got all the feels, it's got emotion. It left me with goosebumps for sure. And the only thing bad I can really say about it is the mix on the drum kit. Because DARKO US, of course, has a very consistent sounding drums and guitars throughout the entire album, where it is over-compressed to hell, it is in your face, it is explosive. Now, with a track like this that is very emotional, I wish the drum kit had backed off just a bit and left the atmosphere to really fill in that void, because I did feel like the drums were being very pervasive when it came to what was happening there, and sometimes it took away from the emotional impact that the track was having. But that's mainly my only concern. Moving on from there, we got one of my favorite tracks, Pretender, and one of the reasons why it's my favorite is because Ben Durr is on it, if you don't know, from Shadow of Intent, and he just crushes it. I feel like at this point, if you have Ben Durr on your track, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a amazing track. This goes the same with Osaya, who also had Ben Durr on one of their tracks as well. His vocal stylings and the fact that he can adapt to pretty much any sort of metal style is insane and very impressive through and through. So yeah, Pretender, great track. It was fast paced. It was good. It was really solid. And to stick to guest vocalists, we also get graced by the beautiful Courtney from Spirit Box on the track Daniel. There's also Johnny Reeves on this, but if I'm being honest, Courtney just steals the show as always. She is doing these really delicate, angelic vocal passages over this really cool drum and bass section, which just fits so well. And the track in itself had this really nice intro build-up leading to the chorus. It was just really well dynamically done from start to finish, and definitely cemented as one of my favorite tracks on the album. It had so many different elements. It had faster moments, had slower moments. But at the end of the day, it was just a really well-written track, and it gave me goosebumps, to say the least. And now we delve a bit deeper and a bit darker, because the next track is Praise the Sun, which, ironically, even though this song is about praising the sun, it is probably the darkest track on the album, where it is brutal. It is heavy, and you don't even really see it coming because the intro is actually quite sparse. We have drum and bass, and we have vocals. That's it. No guitar yet. But then out of nowhere, we get this eruption, like a building collapsing, like some kind of implosion where the guitars come in, and they are so low tuned. It's almost indiscernible from what's happening with the drums. It reminded me a bit of Reflections, where they have those really low tuned, sort of thal kind of an aesthetic. And it's similar here. Although this is a double-edged sword because sometimes I just couldn't hear the guitars at all. With detuning that low, it is very easy for them to get masked, especially when you have a kick drum that's quite high in the mix and also has a lot of top end frequencies being boosted. So that's really the only issue I had with Praise the Sun, but still it was a massive, massive track. If I was going to talk about breakdowns, which this album is pretty much breakdown central, but my favorite one actually was the one off Pale Tongue. I don't know what it was about it, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was just really nicely rhythmically done, and yeah, I just liked that breakdown. Thankfully on this album as well that they do give us an actual bit of downtime, and this comes in the form of the second to last track, Is This Forever, which is this 4-minute sort of interlude that is very ambiental, it's very stripped back, and it is very much needed because for the most part, besides say Donna and Daniel, this album is very much 110% all the way through. So the fact that we got this is really needed, because then the next track, the title track DARKO, is actually goes back up, pushes it to the next level, going 110, 120%, where it is just straight ferocity on all fronts. So yes, downtime, good. I'm glad you did that. When it comes to the negatives, really, the main ones I can say is just the mix. I thought the drums were just too overpowering. They were taking over everything that was happening. And as a result, the guitars were getting lost sometimes, the vocals were getting lost sometimes. And considering it's a two-piece band, having half your band being lost is not a good sign. And as much as this album did have its dynamic moments, the majority of the album is still quite repetitive, with most of the tracks having this fast, choppy, genty thing going for it. And one or two times is great and all, but the fact that it keeps on going and going, like with tracks like Mars Attack or Fiend Dream or Splinter Cell, where at some point I was struggling to distinguish, each track from the other one. But anyway, to conclude on this album, this is kind of perfect for anybody who's into the sort of frontier, mathcore sort of vibe, car bomb as well. And if you like thal, if you like gent, you're probably going to dig this one as well. And of course, if you like deathcore and the two bands that make up this project as well. And for me, it is a solid album. It is fun, it is aggressive, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it fulfills the mission statement of being brutal, the assault. Of course, I do wish there was a bit more variety, because I always ask for that in a lot of albums, and I just wish there was less compression and the mixing was a bit more dynamic in general. But as a result, I'm going to be giving this album a 6 out of 10. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Write down below what did you think of this album, and give this review a like if you enjoyed it, and of course subscribe to keep up to date on all the stuff coming out. And of course, remember, Thursday, 2 p.m., twitch.tv/metalroast, we'll be doing the Tech Death listening party. But until then, I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!